According to a 2017 Politico profile, Lisa Monaco. She worked for Barack Hussein Obama from the beginning of his presidency and ended up as his Homeland Security advisor. Said the president he gave her that moniker, Dr. Doom, because when he saw me coming, he knew something bad had happened. Which is not over yet. Monaco continued both inside and outside the government, including most recently as Joe Biden's deputy attorney general. Her anti-Trump campaign went on for years, resulting in 2 unprecedented criminal federal indictments against a former U.S. president. In fact, a trail of Ms. Monaco's dirty fingerprints stretches from the origins of Russiagate to the Biden Justice Department's early investigations into Donald Trump, and of course finally ending with special counsel Jack Smith's 2 criminal indictments against the president. Now, the tables have been turned. As the president warned last month, the hunters are now the hunted. Recent disclosures by the intelligence community and Congress appear to bolster reports of a sprawling investigation underway at Trump's FBI into the Russiagate hoax. This means Lisa Monaco may be in hot water because she is now a distinguished scholar at the New York University Law Department, which is her alma mater. The president called out Monaco twice last month in suggesting that she was also handling Joe Biden's auto pen. President Trump told Fox News' Maria Bartiromo on June 29th that he wants Monaco and others investigated for what happened in the Biden White House. He said, these are very bad people, Trump said. Brennan's protege to help do his duty work. That's who Lisa Monaco was also considered. Her legal exposure may have worsened after the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, released, among other documents, a bombshell memo disclosing a previously unknown meeting at the White House on December 9, 2016, with the key Russiagate perpetrators. Along with the fellow so-called Obama sisters, that would be Susan Rice and Avril Haines, both of whom also held high-ranking positions in the Biden regime. Well, according to an email in the Gabbard documents, the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, clap on, clap off, moved quickly to produce an outline pursuant to the President of the United States tasking at the Monday meeting on a Russian election meddling for a comprehensive assessment. That outline resulted in CIA Director John Brennan's now infamous and now exposed as fully fraudulent 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment published on January the 6th, 2017. Gabbard highlighted that the December 26 meeting was a turning point, which she called a treasonous conspiracy by officials at the highest levels of the Obama White House to subvert the will of the American people and to try to usurp the president from fulfilling his mandate and maybe even land him in prison with the death penalty. Monaco's involvement, however, preceded that meeting. She played an instrumental role, both behind the scenes and in the public eye, to perpetrate the plot. In August of 2016, Monaco was one of a handful of top Obama advisors assembled by John Brennan, Monaco's predecessor as Homeland Security advisor. They met in the Situation Room. The purpose of the secret gathering, according to detailed Washington Post timeline memos, was to weigh the mounting evidence of the Russian interference, which never happened, and generate options on how they could respond to that. Well, the following month, Lisa Monaco, along with Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson and FBI Director James Comey, briefed congressional leaders on Capitol Hill about the alleged threat, the alleged made-up threat. Since Lisa Monaco had spent her entire career in the federal government working as an aide to Biden's Senate Judiciary Committee back in the 90s, a member of the Department of Injustice Enron Tax Force, oh man, look into that mess sometime, and Chief of Staff to FBI Director Robert Mueller in the early 2000s, the Obama team likely viewed her as the most credible official to deliver the bad news about this potential Russian hacking that never took place, or at least A more serious messenger than Comey, who was still under fire at the time for closing the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Let's hope that gets followed through on. But their entreaty did not go as planned. The meeting devolved into a partisan squabble. The Post wrote about the 2016 September meeting. Republicans resisted, arguing that to warn the public that the election was under attack would further Russia's aim of sapping confidence in the system. Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell went even further. Officials said he voiced skepticism that the underlying intelligence really supported the White House's claims. Well, no fooling, but Mitch McConnell was a never-Trumper also. Monaco also admitted in 2017 in an interview that their stunt had failed. She said, "We made a specific effort to go to Congress to say we wanted bipartisan support for state governments to take us up on our offer to shore up their cybersecurity in the election system. Because there was a tremendous amount of resistance, I think there was a view that if we came to state and municipal governments and said, we want to help you shore up your cybersecurity for your election system, they saw that as a big federal takeover, which of course it was. But it wasn't a totally fruitless exercise. A week or so later, the 4 congressional leaders signed a joint letter urging state election directors to ensure that their network infrastructure was secure from attack. As you know, in Texas, we had a lot of problems, and those have not yet been solved. Senator Dianne Feinstein and Representative Adam Schiff also issued public statements on what they described as a Russian hacking effort aimed at the election. Of course, Dianne Not-So-Feinstein and Representative Adam Schiff, who isn't worth the Schiff he's made of, were both lying. Based on briefings we have received, we have concluded that the Russian intelligence agencies are making serious and concerted efforts to influence the U.S. election. The California Democrats lied on September 22, 2016. The media, of course, eagerly covered the letter and pretended that it was true, and just proof of how dastardly Russia was. Meanwhile, Lisa Monaco, as a key Russiagate mouthpiece, fast forward again to December 2016. Monaco spent the transition period conducting numerous interviews and set-downs to sow more doubt about the election outcome and to warn the people that the incoming Trump administration should prepare for more cyber attacks. Once again, none of this was true. In fact, the morning before December 9th, at a White House meeting, Lisa Monaco held court at breakfast attended by Washington's top political and national security journalist. As I reported, she said, she fielded what appears to have been planted questions by none other than Michael Isikoff, the author of the September 2016 Yahoo News article that first exposed the Steele dossier, which was later used in Comey's FISA application to spy on the Trump campaign, to announce that Obama had ordered the Russian hacking assessment. Of course, this was all BS. Her propaganda tour continued until her last day in office. Monaco, whose methodic delivery and calm demeanor belies the raging partisan that's inside, she became the media go-to to discuss the sanctions against Russia for things they never did in an effort to interfere in our election, which they didn't. The same day, Lisa Monaco appeared on CNN with Jake the Tapeworm. We're exposing the tactics, the techniques, the procedures that the Russian intelligence services might have used if they had decided to interfere in our election, which they didn't. Release the Monaco files. Monaco also participated in another pivotal meeting to advance the Russiagate scheme on January the 5th, 2017, and this was a briefing with President Barack Hussein Obama at the White House. Responses to the 2022 Freedom of Information request by Judicial Watch indicated that Monaco attended the meeting along with Brennan, Comey, Clapper, Rice, and Vice President Joe Biden. Obama convened the meeting to discuss the intelligence assessment, which would be publicly released the next day. The same James Comey who ambushed Trump in New York City to warn him about the contents of the Steele dossier, which he already knew, was total BS. So, golly, what a freaking mess. You know, that meeting with Comey, Clapper, Rice, and Joe Biden and Peebo, man, that's like the meeting of the five families in New York, isn't it? Monaco appears to have recorded 4 pages of contemporaneous notes in her stenography notebook during the January 5th briefing. Those notes and all the entries in Monaco's notebook dated January 3rd through January 20th remain under seal. Release would disclose confidential advice between the president and his advisors or between such co-conspirators. Hopefully, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, can take a look into what Monaco documented during that crucial period. Meanwhile, in his 2018 memoir, Clapper wrote that Monaco stayed at the White House on the morning of the inauguration almost right up until noon. That is a juicy tidbit, since shortly after noon on January the 20th, 2017, Susan Rice sent her, quote, by the book email, unquote, related to the Russian investigation and alleged concerns over General Mike Flynn's communications with the Russian ambassador. Once again, they were setting up Mike Flynn to have him arrested because he knew too much. It's hard to imagine fellow Obama sister Lisa Monaco was not involved in helping Rice draft that email. At that point, Lisa Monaco's extended gig in the federal government came to an end, but her targeting of President Trump did not. CNN hired Lisa Monaco as a national security analyst, not to discuss legitimate threats to the homeland, but instead to perpetuate the notion that Donald Trump and his team posed a grave danger to the American public. With her former boss, Robert Mueller, firmly drunk and ensconced in the special counsel's office, along with former Enron task force pal Andrew Weissman, Lisa Monaco had no shortage of material to work with in her anti-Trump crusade. This continued on cable news and in op-ed pages for the next 4 years. Even as late as December 2018, Lisa Monaco was still pushing the Russian hacking narrative, claiming in a CNN interview that the Russians conducted cyber operations against state elections in 2016, which is, of course, a bald-faced lie. But after the 2020 election, Monaco found herself back in power. She again immediately turned her sights back to Donald Trump, but this time her goal was to put the former president behind bars and perhaps have him assassinated. There's more next time.